Money is one of the most influential forces in life. Yet most people move through their entire existence without ever forming a real relationship with it. They chase it, they fear it, they argue about it, they dream of it, but they never truly introduce themselves to it. They treat money like something distant, something that arrives by chance or disappears without explanation. But money isn't random. It has patterns, behaviors, reactions, and rules, just like any living system. The world rewards those who take the time to understand these patterns and punishes those who ignore them. Introducing yourself to money means paying attention to how it moves, how it grows, and how it responds to your habits, your mindset, and your decisions. It means understanding that money is not an enemy, not a mystery, and not something reserved for a select few. It is a tool that anyone can learn to work with, but only if they stop treating it like a stranger. From an early age, most people are taught how to earn money, but almost no one is taught how to build a relationship with it. They learn to trade time for dollars, follow instructions, and hope that a job will cover their needs. Yet jobs are only one part of the equation. Money does not flow to effort alone, it flows to understanding. People can work for decades without building wealth simply because they never learned how money behaves. They never introduced themselves to the idea that money requires direction. Without direction, it drifts away. With clarity, it multiplies. Before anyone can build wealth, they must learn that money responds to purpose. It stays where it is respected, not chased. It grows where it is guided, not ignored. Money is neutral. It simply amplifies the habits of whoever controls it. Introducing yourself to money also means understanding your own beliefs. Every person carries an internal script, shaped by family, culture, and past experiences about what money represents. Some believe money is difficult to earn. Some believe money is dangerous. Some believe money will turn them greedy or selfish. Some believe money is only for the lucky, the talented, or the privileged. These beliefs live quietly inside the mind, but they determine how much money someone attracts or repels. People sabotage themselves financially without realizing it because they unconsciously push away opportunities that challenge their old beliefs. To change a financial life, the beliefs must change first. Money requires permission to enter. Without that inner permission, wealth feels impossible no matter how hard someone works. Introducing yourself to money begins with challenging every belief that limits you. It begins with replacing fear with curiosity, scarcity with possibility, and confusion with clarity. When people finally sit down and observe the flow of money, they notice something powerful. Money is not emotional. It does not care who you are, where you started, or what you believe you deserve. It follows rules. It rewards discipline, consistency, and strategy. It punishes neglect, impulsive behavior, and short-term thinking. People who treat money with intention feel more control over their lives. People who treat money casually feel like life controls them. Introducing yourself to money means committing to learning, not just how to earn more, but how to protect, multiply, and manage what you already have. It means studying the habits of people who build wealth and understanding what separates them from those who struggle financially. Wealthy people are not simply lucky. They behave differently. They think differently. They understand that money grows in environments where order, purpose, and discipline exist. Money cannot survive in chaos, confusion, or denial. Another fundamental part of introducing yourself to money is learning how money actually grows. Many people rely on one source of income, expecting it to support their dreams, their family, and their future. But the modern world is changing too quickly for that to be safe. Jobs disappear, industries shift, and economies fluctuate. Relying on a single income stream is like standing on one leg. Any sudden push can knock everything over. Money grows through diversification. It grows through skills that increase value. It grows through investments that compound quietly over time. It grows through opportunities that appear only to those who prepare for them before they arrive. Money grows when someone becomes valuable enough that the world has no choice but to pay attention. Introducing yourself to money means understanding that wealth is rarely built from one source. It is built from many streams flowing together into something steady and powerful. But money does not respond only to knowledge. It responds to identity. The person you believe yourself to be determines the amount of money you expect, accept, and pursue. If you see yourself as someone who barely survives, that becomes your financial reality. If you see yourself as someone capable of growth, opportunity appears. If you see yourself as someone worthy of abundance, you begin making decisions that align with abundance. Introducing yourself to money requires introducing yourself to a new version of you, the version that thinks beyond survival, beyond bills, beyond fear. This version understands that money is not a goal, it is a tool for freedom, stability, and choice. Money builds options. Options build peace. Peace builds a better life. Without money, decisions are made from fear. With money, decisions are made from clarity. There is also a deeply practical side to this relationship. Money needs attention. It needs tracking, planning, and guidance. People who never look at their finances are like people who never check the map during a long journey. They move, but they never truly progress. Introducing yourself to money means knowing where it goes, how it behaves, and what patterns shape your spending and saving. It means identifying weaknesses in your habits and transforming them into strengths. It means being honest about unnecessary expenses, emotional purchases, and impulse decisions that sabotage long-term goals. It means seeing money as energy that must flow purposefully, not randomly. When money is respected, it grows. When it is ignored, it disappears. Yet, introducing yourself to money is not just about wealth. It is about identity, peace, and control. Money touches every part of life: where you live, how you eat, what opportunities you can take, how safe you feel, and what kind of future you can build. People who live without financial awareness feel constant pressure because they depend on luck. People who build a relationship with money feel empowered because they depend on strategy. Money does not guarantee happiness, but it removes many fears that block happiness. It creates room for dreams, time for health, energy for loved ones, and space to breathe. As the world moves toward 2026, financial understanding is becoming more important than ever. Automation, inflation, shifting industries, and global changes are reshaping how money moves. Those who introduce themselves to money now will enter the future empowered, calm, and prepared. Those who ignore money will find themselves struggling in a world that no longer protects the uninformed. Money is not a mystery. It is a relationship, and like any relationship, it grows stronger when you give it attention, respect, and understanding. The moment you introduce yourself to money is the moment you begin taking control of your future. The moment you decide to introduce yourself to money is the moment you begin rewriting the script that has silently controlled your life for years. Most people go through their entire lives feeling like money is some distant, unpredictable force that visits some homes but ignores others, as if wealth chooses people randomly. But the truth is that money responds to clarity, intention, and relationship, just like anything else in life. If you treat money like a stranger, it will treat you the same way: distant, inconsistent, unpredictable. But the moment you begin treating money like something you want to understand, communicate with, attract, and build trust with, everything in your life slowly starts to shift. You begin to make different choices. You start seeing opportunities you used to overlook. You find yourself growing into the kind of person who money can trust, because money needs a home just as much as you do. Since childhood, many people learned that money is stressful, difficult, or scarce, and those beliefs follow them into adulthood without ever being questioned. You might have watched your parents argue about it, struggle for it, or work endlessly without ever feeling like they had enough. Those early memories quietly shaped your relationship with money, creating patterns that you might not even realize you're repeating today. But introducing yourself to money means breaking that invisible pattern and deciding to step forward with a new identity, one that understands that money is not something to fear or chase, but something to invite, nurture, and grow. It means acknowledging that even if you weren't taught how to build wealth, you can teach yourself now, and you can do it with patience, intention, and a willingness to change the way you think. Money responds to the energy you carry around it, and that energy is created through your thoughts, habits, and actions. When you start imagining money as something that wants to work with you, you begin to understand that money is attracted to responsibility, preparation, and confidence. It does not flow toward people who believe they're unworthy, incapable, or unlucky. It flows toward those who prepare a foundation for it. The moment you shift from thinking, "I hope money comes to me someday," to thinking, "I am building a life where money belongs," you change the dynamic completely. You're no longer waiting for luck, you're creating alignment. You're stepping out of the mindset of survival and into the mindset of ownership. Introducing yourself to money also means becoming brutally honest about how you treat it in your daily life. Do you push it away as soon as it arrives? Do you ignore it until there's a problem? Do you treat it with resentment because you feel like there's never enough? If you speak negatively about money, telling yourself it's hard to earn, quick to disappear, or impossible to keep, money responds to that energy. But when you approach money with respect, curiosity, and intention, you begin to see it shift. You start paying attention to where it goes, how it grows, and how you can guide it instead of allowing it to control you. You take responsibility for the decisions that shape your financial reality. Most people think they need more money before they can build a relationship with it, but it actually works the opposite way. You build the relationship first, and then more money begins to appear. When you start paying attention to every income and every expense, you cultivate awareness. When you set goals for what you want to earn and why, you create direction. When you decide that you will no longer waste money on things that don't align with your future, you create boundaries. These small changes are how you introduce yourself to money on a deeper level, showing it that you're ready for a long-term partnership instead of a temporary visit. Once you begin seeing money as a partner, you also begin recognizing opportunities differently. Something you once dismissed as impossible now looks like a path you can follow. Something that felt too risky now feels like a step you can take with strategy and intention. Something that seemed far away now feels closer than ever. You start realizing that money grows through choices, not chances. You recognize that wealth isn't built in one moment, it's built in the consistent, intentional moments you choose every single day. You stop looking for the big, dramatic breakthrough and start understanding that real transformation happens quietly, in the background of your life, through discipline and clarity. Every time you choose to become a better steward of your money, saving a little more, spending a little wiser, investing with understanding, planning with intention, you strengthen the foundation of your financial identity. You rewrite the story that once told you money was difficult or rare. You start proving to yourself that money and stability can exist in your life. And with every small victory, you introduce yourself to a version of you who is capable, grounded, and aligned with abundance. That version of you is where your future wealth begins. The process of introducing yourself to money also forces you to confront the habits that have been quietly draining your potential. It reveals the emotional triggers behind impulsive decisions, the fear behind avoiding financial planning, the doubt behind staying in the same place year after year. And as you address these patterns, you open the door to a future where you are no longer repeating the past. You become someone who takes control instead of someone who reacts. You become someone who grows instead of someone who survives. You become someone who attracts opportunities instead of someone who waits for them. As you continue building this relationship, you begin to understand that wealth is not about how much you have. It's about how you think, how you behave, and how you show up for your own future. Wealth is a mindset long before it becomes a number. It is built through choices long before it becomes reality. And the more you commit to this identity, the more naturally money begins to flow into your life. You're no longer chasing it, you're aligning with it. You're no longer hoping for it, you're preparing for it. You're no longer feeling disconnected from it, you're introducing yourself to it over and over again, showing it that you are ready, responsible, and receptive. And as you develop this new relationship, something powerful begins to happen. You stop seeing money as an obstacle and start seeing it as a tool. You stop seeing wealth as something other people create and start seeing it as something within your reach. You stop seeing your past as a limitation and start seeing your future as wide open. That shift is where the transformation begins. That shift is where abundance starts to grow. And that shift is the true meaning of introducing yourself to money, becoming the version of you who is ready to receive everything you once believed was impossible. Comes a moment when you realize that money is not just something you earn and spend, but something that reacts to the way you think, act, and carry yourself. Introducing yourself to money means stepping into a new identity, where you no longer see money as something distant or unpredictable, but as something you are actively building a relationship with. It means understanding that money is attracted to clarity, confidence, and purpose. When you decide to step closer to money, instead of waiting for it to come to you, the entire way you experience life begins to shift. This shift doesn't happen through one big decision, but through countless small changes in how you think about value, time, work, and possibility. You start realizing that everything you want becomes easier to reach when you learn how to align yourself with money, instead of fearing or ignoring it. Many people live with an invisible wall between themselves and the wealth they dream of. They assume that money is reserved for the lucky few, or for those born into the right circumstances. They carry beliefs that say money is too difficult to manage, too hard to earn, or too impossible to keep. But once you begin introducing yourself to money, those beliefs get exposed as nothing more than stories passed down from people who are also struggling. When you look deeper, you start to understand that the people who have money are not always the ones who worked harder, but the ones who understood money as a system, a relationship, and a mindset. Realizing this doesn't take anything away from your past, it simply gives you permission to build a new future. Introducing yourself to money means becoming aware of the way you talk about it, think about it, and respond to it. If you speak about money with frustration or fear, that energy affects your decisions. It makes you hesitant when you should be bold and impulsive when you should be strategic. But when you shift towards speaking about money with openness and possibility, something changes inside you. You begin making choices from a place of intention instead of reaction. You start becoming someone who respects money, understands its importance, and sees it as a partner in building the life you want. This shift in perspective is subtle but powerful because money responds to the identity you carry. As you deepen this relationship, you begin recognizing the areas in your life where money has been slipping away unnoticed. Maybe it's through habits that drain your resources without adding value, or through opportunities you avoided because you didn't believe you were ready. Introducing yourself to money means confronting these patterns and replacing them with habits that help you grow. You start saving even when the amount feels small because you understand that saving builds discipline and trust. You start paying attention to where every dollar goes, not because you're restricting yourself, but because you're taking control of your financial direction. Every conscious decision you make shows money that you are ready to handle more of it. At the same time, you begin exploring ways to expand your income instead of relying solely on one source. You start realizing that money grows fastest when you create multiple paths for it to flow into your life. Whether through skills, investments, opportunities, or creativity, you begin to understand that earning more is not about working yourself to exhaustion, but about working with intention. You start noticing talents you overlooked, possibilities you never considered, and connections that can grow into future opportunities. This is the moment when you stop seeing money as a limited resource and start seeing it as something that expands with your mindset. Introducing yourself to money also means understanding that your environment influences your financial identity. When you surround yourself with people who complain about money, you adopt their limitations. When you surround yourself with people who talk about growth, you start thinking like them. You begin adjusting your environment, your habits, your routines, your inspirations, so they support your financial goals instead of pulling you away from them. You stop spending time around people who drain your ambition and start seeking conversations that push you to think bigger. This shift doesn't require abandoning anyone. It simply requires elevating yourself toward the mindset you want to embody. As your identity around money grows stronger, you begin developing the emotional discipline that wealth requires. Money doesn't just test math skills. It tests patience, resilience, and logic. It asks whether you act based on long-term results or temporary emotions. Introducing yourself to money means learning how to pause before making decisions, how to choose strategy over impulse, and how to stay committed even when results don't appear right away. You begin to understand that real wealth is not built in the moments of excitement, but in the moments of control. The discipline you build becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. The more you grow into this identity, the more you start seeing yourself as someone who deserves financial stability and abundance. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking your goals to match your fears. You stop believing that wealth is only for certain people. You begin to see that wanting money isn't selfish, it's responsible. Money gives you choices, security, peace, and the ability to support the people you care about. The moment you embrace this truth, you unlock a new level of motivation that pushes you toward decisions that your old self would have avoided. You begin acting like someone who is preparing for the wealth they want, not just dreaming about it. As this relationship deepens, you start realizing that the most valuable change is not the money that appears in your bank account, but the person you are becoming because of this journey. You become more intentional, more observant, more confident. You become someone who chooses purpose over distraction and discipline over excuses. You begin taking bold steps that once felt risky because now they feel necessary. You begin trusting yourself in ways you never did before, and that trust becomes one of the strongest magnets for money. Eventually, you reach a point where introducing yourself to money no longer feels like a new decision. It becomes part of who you are. You start to feel aligned with abundance instead of separate from it. Opportunities feel more natural because your mind is open to them. Growth feels more achievable because you no longer see yourself as someone who is trying. You see yourself as someone who is becoming. Once you reach this point, money is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that flows toward you because you have created the identity, the habits, and the environment that support it. This is what it truly means to introduce yourself to money, to step into a version of yourself that is responsible, aware, open, and ready. A version of yourself that understands that wealth is not just a destination. It is a relationship built through intention, belief, and action. And as you continue on this path, you realize that the moment you chose to introduce yourself to money was the moment your entire life began to change. Comes a point in your journey where you realize that money is not simply something you earn, it is something you host, something you manage, something you grow. And the moment you begin treating it with this level of awareness, something subtle but powerful starts to shift within you. Introducing yourself to money at this deeper level means creating a space in your life where money feels welcomed instead of chased, respected instead of feared, expanded instead of wasted. It means becoming the kind of person who money can trust, because money does not stay where it feels mismanaged, disrespected, or ignored. It stays where it feels understood, and understanding money requires a level of honesty, self-reflection, and discipline that most people go their whole lives avoiding. But once you step into that level of awareness, the path ahead becomes clearer than ever. As you begin to build this relationship, you start noticing the subtle ways that money communicates with you. It speaks through your patterns, through your habits, through the decisions you make in silence. It shows you the parts of your life that need healing, the parts of your mindset that need restructuring, and the parts of your identity that need to evolve. You may not realize it at first, but every time you avoid looking at your finances, every time you delay a decision, every time you spend to escape an emotion, you are revealing your current relationship with money. And once you recognize these patterns, you can begin reshaping them into something stronger, calmer, and more aligned with your goals. Introducing yourself to money at this stage also means learning how to create peace around it. Many people live in constant anxiety about money, how to earn more, how to keep it, how to avoid losing it. But peace begins when you understand that money responds to clarity more than stress. When you begin defining what you want financially, why you want it, and how you plan to achieve it, you create a sense of direction that replaces fear with structure. Direction is one of the strongest forms of financial power. It brings order to your choices, stability to your emotions, and confidence to your future. The moment you operate with intention instead of panic, you begin attracting opportunities instead of running from them. At this deeper stage of your relationship with money, you also learn the importance of alignment. You realize that every financial decision you make is a vote for the type of life you want to live. When you spend impulsively, you vote for temporary satisfaction. When you invest wisely, you vote for long-term stability. When you set boundaries, you vote for growth. And when you ignore your finances, you vote for confusion. Introducing yourself to money means becoming conscious of these votes and choosing actions that align with your highest goals, not your momentary desires. This shift in behavior is subtle but transformative because it turns your financial life into something you guide instead of something that controls you. As you continue growing, you begin to understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity. You don't need dramatic leaps to transform your money. You need steady, repeated actions that reshape your habits. Saving a small amount regularly, reviewing your spending weekly, increasing your income gradually, and learning slowly but consistently. These small steps compound into major results over time. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because it does not create immediate excitement, but it is consistency that creates long-term wealth. When you commit to showing up for your financial life again and again, you are introducing yourself to money in the most meaningful way possible. You are proving that you are reliable. Another part of this deeper introduction is learning to release the beliefs that once held you back. Many people are carrying financial stories that do not belong to them, stories inherited from family, culture, or past struggles. Stories that say money is always hard to earn, that wealth is only for certain people, that financial stability is out of reach. These beliefs create invisible ceilings that stop people from growing. But as you strengthen your identity and learn more about money, these old beliefs begin to fade. You start seeing that money is not emotional, it is mathematical. It responds to patterns, discipline, and strategy, not fear. When you release the emotional weight attached to money, you free yourself to create a new financial reality. At this stage, you also begin understanding that your future depends on the decisions you make today. Even if the progress feels slow, every step forward is building a foundation that your future self will thank you for. You start saving for emergencies because you want stability. You begin planning for the long term because you want freedom. You take opportunities seriously because you want growth. And you begin valuing your time differently because you realize that time is deeply connected to money. When you value your time, you naturally begin valuing your income, your energy, and your potential. This type of self-respect becomes a magnet for financial progress. As your relationship with money matures, you start becoming more selective. Selective with what you buy, who you listen to, and how you invest your focus. You understand that not every trend deserves your attention, not every purchase deserves your money, and not every idea deserves your energy. This selectiveness is not about being restrictive, it is about being aligned. It's about choosing what supports your growth instead of what distracts you from it. When you operate with this level of clarity, you begin to make decisions that elevate your entire financial life. Eventually, you reach a point where you begin thinking long-term. You start imagining what your life will look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You begin building systems that allow money to work for you instead of you working endlessly for money. You invest in skills that increase your earning potential, build savings that protect your future, and create opportunities that expand your possibilities. This long-term thinking becomes one of your greatest strengths because it shifts you from survival mode into growth mode. You are no longer reacting to life, you are designing it. And as this transformation takes place, something even more powerful happens. You begin seeing yourself differently. You no longer see money as a mystery or an enemy. You see it as a tool, a resource, a partner. You feel more confident in your decisions, more grounded in your goals, more capable of creating your future. You feel proud of the discipline you've built and the direction you're moving in. And in this new version of yourself, money begins to stay. It begins to grow. It begins to multiply. This is the deeper meaning of introducing yourself to money, becoming someone who attracts growth, maintains stability, and builds a future with intention. Someone who treats money with respect, clarity, and confidence. Someone who understands that wealth is not luck, it is identity. And the moment you step into this identity, you begin unlocking a version of your life that once felt out of reach.